There we go. That is the official greeting for business leaders who have something to say now. So we're going to talk about why authoring a book is vital for building your business, the steps it takes to publish a book, how to organize your thoughts into valuable content, the technical details of publishing your book, what you can do to author a book without writing a word, and some common questions as well as your questions. And so just to give you 30 seconds about me, I am a professional catalyst for transformation. I have been writing for years. I've been studying internet marketing. I'm a best-selling author. I'm a certified book coach. I'm also a ghostwriter. And so I shared some little, interesting tidbits about me. I think it's more interesting to talk about the fact that business is about freedom. And it's important to do what comes naturally so you can outsource the rest. Just focus on what your strengths are and what you really want to do and where your passions are. I also believe that perspective is everything. So what you believe about something is going to determine your experience. And I believe that there is power in positivity. And I'm pretty sure you do too, because you're here. So a little bit more about you. You're a leader who has something to say, and you have some level of success in your field. You use common sense and your gut to make decisions. You tend to be visionary about possibilities. You understand the authenticity, the power of authenticity in business, and you want to help people through what you know, do, and have experienced. You're also choosing to compress time where you can. One of the most valuable quotes I ever read about the value of compressing time is when somebody said, we're all millionaires. It's just that it takes us a whole lifetime to get there. Now, what if you could do that in, 5 years or 1 year or 3 months, right? So compressing time is a really important concept for business owners. And then, of course, you also recognize your brand reach and credibility, and that it will expand as a result of publishing your book. So why are you here? Well, maybe it's time that you finally get your book done. Maybe publishing a book is on your bucket list. Maybe you have loads of content you want to package. Maybe it would be cool to say you're an author. Maybe you want to position your authority better. Or maybe your book would make the best holiday gift ever. Whatever the reason, every day you put off getting your book published is a day that someone or many people would go without having the benefit of your perspective, knowledge, and experience. And that means another day they're not getting the help, the turning point, the clarity they need to get to their next level through what it is that you could be doing to help them. So I hope that is compelling for you to say, yes, that is why I'm here. So I have this giant slide on why authoring a book is vital for business building. And I know that we have at least one attendee who's listening by audio only. So that means we're going to send these slides afterwards to attendees so that they can actually see all these fabulous reasons to author your book. I mean, your book is really, it's a big business card. It helps others by sharing what you know. You demonstrate your commitment to the topic. It establishes your thought leadership and subject matter status. It gives you a product to give or sell at events. It spins off other products because as you clarify your message, it will create naturally courses, webinars, videos, and other things. It also creates a competitive advantage over non-authors in your field. And there's 2 points that I think are maybe the most important. It delivers an experience of your perspective to your readers, and it substantiates your value, which makes it easier to claim your worth in your work. Your book becomes part of your business ecosystem. So, and one of my colleagues says a book is a big, extra long sales letter. And so, I'm going to try not to go deep on a lot of these things because we have so much to cover. At the same time, I want to give you enough context to understand the whole process. So hold on to your socks, basically, because each of the next slides that follow could be an entire workshop in themselves. So, but you know what? We're brave and we're going to do it. So hold on. Okay, here we go. So this slide represents a number of CEO authors. They're coming from enterprise, corporate, business, entrepreneur, they're self-made successes. We've got everyone from Sophia Amoruso as Girl Boss to Jack Welch to Mark Benioff of Salesforce. He wrote Trailblazer, or he authored Trailblazer. And that's a very important distinction. You don't have to necessarily write the book to be the author of the book. So Tony Hsieh of Zappos, he's got a book. John Mackey, he wrote Conscious Capitalism, and he's, of course, the founder of Whole Foods. So, and by the way, I went to the original Whole Foods store in Austin, Texas one time. Like, it's now a record store. It's a little dinky store. It's amazing. And then like a couple blocks down, now it's this grandiose 3 or 4 story building. It's got escalators. It's got like 11 restaurants in it. It's the most amazing. I used to take people to go and visit me at the Whole Foods. When they'd come to visit, that's where we would go. That was our tourist destination. Anyway, the point is Elon Musk, Tina Fey, Ryan Blair, these are all people who have written books, and it's just a tiny little, example. There are so many more. So let's talk about the steps it takes to publish a book. And the first thing you need is to determine a business building big idea. So that can sometimes be one of the most challenging parts about it. You also need to get a working title, organize your content into a table of contents, write the manuscript, edit and proof your manuscript, determine where you want to publish. Most people go to Amazon, but there are other outlets. Then, of course, you want to write your back cover copy, which can become your Amazon author page copy for the book as well. You want to design your cover art. You've got to figure out if you're going to buy an ISBN, or if you do publish through Amazon, you can use one of theirs. Then it's about formatting the interior, and you want to do that for all the versions of your book that you're going to have: Kindle, softcover, or print book, a PDF, if you want an audio book. Then you need to upload it into the system where you're going to be publishing. Then you want to proof that copy. So you might want to actually physically order authors' proof copies before you hit that final publish button. And then you want to hit publish. And that is a very exciting moment. When I work with my clients, I refer to it as having a launch code, because that's kind of how it feels. So it's a big, big deal, and it's cause for happy celebration. So let's talk about how to organize your thoughts into valuable content. So in the book, there is, you've got, of course, the cover and the title page, and then you have something that's called the front matter page. And that's where you list your copyright, your ISBN, any, limitation or liability. You basically are saying, this is my IP. That's what you're saying there. Then you might have a dedication page. You might have a foreword, which is written by someone in your industry who's giving you kind of acknowledgement for writing this or setting the stage for the reader. Then, because this is a business building book, I think it's important to include kudos and endorsements from or success stories from your clients. Then you get to the table of contents. So you have to go through all that stuff just to get to the table of contents. Then when you get to your chapters, you want to have somewhere between 8 and 10 chapters. And in there would be an introductory chapter, maybe why you're writing this book or why the reader should care, maybe an introduction of who you are, your philosophy. You'll have 8 or 9 chapters of substance, and then you'd have a summary. Then you'd also, I think it's important to have about the author, well, obviously about the author, but then you also want to include promotions. And those promotions, they need to be for things that are free. You can't actually use your book to sell, because that will usually it violates the publisher's terms and conditions. For sure it does with Amazon. So within your chapters, you want to include, so each chapter should have 3 key points. So, you might have, the chapter head might be why the sky is blue, and it might be, rainbow light, and then it might be because I think so, and then it might be whatever. And then within those 3 points, you want to have 3 subpoints. So that's a really easy way to start thinking about how to organize your content into something that has both substance and that's meaningful to the topic of the chapter. And remember, this is, the goal, a couple things. The goal is for you to have 125 pages in Word, double spaced in a 6x9 layout, because that's going to most closely emulate what your book looks like when it's typeset. And there's something that happens when you think about your book looking like a book. When you're working in your manuscript and it looks like a book, it can be very powerful. Also, remember, this is about building business. It's always important to focus on delivering value around your big idea or your title. And you also want to offer some sort of an opt-in or giveaway for readers. The reason for that is because if they buy your book on Amazon and they read the book, you want them to find extra value, number one. And number two, when they come to that opt-in page, you want to collect their information so you can continue to market to them after. Also, although we're aiming for 125-ish up to 200 pages, If you have the interior typeset, which I do recommend, that page count will change. So now let's say you aren't even sure what makes your work or your business unique, or you don't know what to talk about, then I have an unexpected bonus for you. So, and again, you'll have the slides afterwards, so you'll be able to see what this is all about. But this is all about your value proposition elements. And so there's 6 areas where you need to be able to be conversant about the value that your content is going to bring your reader. And so you want to answer these questions. The need my solution meets is blank, 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 fill in the blank. My solution is superior to the competition in blank, blank, blank. My customers are really buying blank, blank, blank. And it's really, maybe your customers are just really buying peace of mind. You think you're focusing on, I don't know, leadership, let's say. And really what you're doing, what they're really buying is, oh gosh, I have confidence and peace of mind, right? So another question is that you want to make sure you understand the benefits of your work and the value that the benefits that deliver value of your work. The value exchange of your work with that customer is blank, blank, blank. And the end result is blank, blank, blank. So I know that's a lot of blank, blank, blanks. But the point is that when you work through that exercise, it will give you the information that you need in order to be able to organize your content in a way that's meaningful and relevant to your target audience. So I know we're flying through this, but there is just so much more to share. So let's keep going. Okay, so let's talk about the technical details of publishing your book. So, and these are kind of in random order. I just wanted to include them because I think it's important that you know what you're getting into when you publish a book. First of all, cover design. Your cover is said to be the #1 most important branding element of your book because it has to break through the noise in the market. It has to be easily readable when it's a teeny tiny postage stamp on Amazon. It also has to help build your visual brand. And when you decide your cover, that's also where you need to choose your ISBN strategy, whether it's you're going to get it through Amazon or you're going to buy them. If you want to buy an ISBN, go to myidentifiers.net. That's the Bowker services for buying an ISBN. I think you can, it used to be that you could buy a package of 10 for like, I don't know, $150 or something like that. So if you're planning on publishing more than one book, which I highly recommend, then I would say you'd want to choose your ISBNs from there. Otherwise, so what the ISBN does is it's that little barcode on the book that says this is who the publisher is and how much the book is and what the title is. So that book is sort of like a unique idea. It's like the VIN number of your car. Or it's like your IP address of your computer. It says this book belongs to this author, this publisher, this date, blah, blah, blah. So that's the ISBN and a little bit about the cover design. There are ways to design your cover. One way is to go on Amazon in your category and look for bestsellers and see what they're doing to be inspired for look and feel. Interesting, right? That's a good tip. Okay, so #2, let's talk about the upload process. Now, ideally, I think I already shared, you want to get your book typeset to allow you to publish with any publisher, whether it's Amazon, Ingram Spark, Lulu, whatever. When you decide where you're going to publish, each publisher has their own specs for the cover and the manuscript. When you typeset your manuscript, that handles the interior formatting requirements. You still need to change, consider your paper type and your print and things like that, but your typesetter or graphic designer can help with that. And the reason that matters, by the way, is that if you choose cream paper versus white paper, cream paper is actually thicker than white paper, which means the spine of your book will have to adjust to match that cover, so to accommodate your cover size. So anyway, once you upload your book into whatever publishing system you're going to use, you need to proof your book prior to publishing. And when you do that, it may require you to make changes in the formatting, again, unless you have your book typeset. Once you typeset your book, it's kind of magical. It is an extra expense to have your book typeset, totally worth it on every level. So, and I do have someone that I work with who is amazing. So, okay, and now 3, Your author page. Every publisher has a place for you to post your author bio. Many first-time authors will choose Amazon as their publishing platform, and in that case, you want to make sure you create an Amazon author page. Now, in Amazon, there's two different places that you upload things. One is you upload the manuscripts through kdp.amazon.com, but you actually create your author page at authorcentral.amazon.com. So you actually have to do it in both places. And it's kind of interesting because in both places, there will be different information about your book. Also very interesting, but we can talk more about that once it becomes more relevant. For now, this is just to kind of get the broad strokes of what you're going to need to do to publish your book. Also, your number 4, your book is, your book needs a launch strategy. So if you want to go for Amazon bestseller, or you want to be in the Wall Street Journal, or be on the New York Times, or in USA Today, or you just want to get your book in front of the right people, those decisions are going to determine your launch strategy, which includes your price, any promotions you want to run, the categories of your book. You know, are you in self-help, or are you in, I don't know, entrepreneurship? So you need to know what your categories are. And the reason for that is some categories are less competitive than others, meaning you will reach a bestseller status easier in those categories. Once a book launches, it becomes, in any case, it's worthy of evergreen promotion. It doesn't matter, what your topic is. You always want to be sharing about that. That's part of your body of work, right? On Amazon, you can pre-sell your book up to 90 days prior to publishing. And actually, that is now incorrect. They just updated it. I think you can actually pre-sell your book for up to a year. I have to check that. Yeah, pretty amazing. And so you can actually build up sales through that pre-sale period. And then depending on your categories, the first day's rush of sales might be enough to qualify your book as an Amazon bestseller. And I say might just because I'm trying to do a CYA thing, but probably. So, because think about that, you have months to let friends, colleagues, peers, people you used to work with, friends, family, all the people that they know, your joint venture partners, your vendors, like everybody who you've ever met could potentially buy a copy, or tell other people to buy a copy. So, or maybe even multiple copies. Let's just get crazy and think big, right? So, and then that's a whole strategy there too. If you have a book that's relevant to, let's say you're writing about a new alternative medical practice model or something like that, the association, what is it, AMA, American Medical Association? I'm just picking on them, but there might be an association that says, oh, all of our members need a copy of that book. Well, great, let me just order 1,000 copies for you, so you can, and then there's things to know about that too. In order to go for a bestseller status, they really do need to buy books through that distributor page. If you buy books, say you as the author buy 1,000 copies, that does not count toward your bestseller numbers. So some people think that they can just buy enough copies and that'll do it, but it won't. So, okay, let's talk about 5 expected costs. Authoring and publishing a book is an investment of time and resources. However, it is the one that will pay you back in your business, provided that you use your book properly. So you can expect to pay for developmental editing and or ghostwriting, which is one of my specialties. 2, you might want to have a proofreader. You might want to buy ISBNs. We already talked about that. Cover design for all your formats. You've got, Kindle, softcover, hardcover, audio, whatever. You might need cover design for different formats. And then, of course, typesetting your manuscript. So additionally, you're going to want to have a dedicated book page somewhere on the internet, maybe in your website. And then from there, you may want to invest in various promotional strategies. So there's costs beyond authoring and publishing the book that you want to consider. And lastly, there are some different roles that are associated with your book. So you might have the proofreader. We talked about that. You might have an editor or a developmental editor, meaning you know, an editor is going to look for errors, but a developmental editor is going to look for holes and make recommendations on where you can expand or streamline content. You might have a ghostwriter. And you can give that ghostwriter credit or not, depending on how you want to handle that. Your graphic designer, your typesetter, your publisher, and you may be your own publisher. If you go to myidentifiers.net, you are going to be your own publisher. And of course, the author, which is you. And meaning, as an author, you may not be the writer, right? But you'll be the author. So I would say that something you should think about is do not publish a book thinking that book sales are going to pay back your investment, because they won't. It's the business system behind the book that makes the money. So, you know, this is part of a larger ecosystem in your business ecosystem. That's the best word I can think of. So, okay, but here's the good news. You can be an author without writing a word. You can use, when you see these slides, you're gonna laugh because they're all number one. So instead of 1, 2, 3, they're like 1, 1, 1. Anyway, you can use existing content. You can speak your content, or you can ghostwrite your content. So, and really the most important factor in using your book to build your business is that it does support your larger ecosystem of what you're doing, whether it's coaching, consulting, seminars, workshops, facilitating, whatever it is that you're doing. You want this book to support that overall, the overall message and methods by which you deliver value. So there's something else that I want to share here. There's really 3 things in anything, and you can actually use this maybe in your own business, but there's time, money, and or quality. And juggling, you need to have 2 out of 3 of those. But let's say you don't have money and you want quality, but you don't have time. Well, great, then you hire somebody, right? So usually they say you can have 2, but not all 3 of those things. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but anyway, it's something to think about. Like if time, money, and quality are all balanced or not, that's going to help determine how you structure your method in getting your book put together and published. And I'm going to answer some questions in a minute that I got in advance of our time together, but I want to take about maybe 3.5 minutes to talk about what you can expect with a ghostwriter, specifically with me as your ghostwriter. So you knew that was coming, right? So So here are some of my recent projects, and these are projects that I've been involved with as a ghostwriter, an editor, a book coach, a publisher, a best-selling author, and I'm so honored to have worked with every single one of these authors. It's just a privilege on every level. And I've got just a couple of my wonderful, esteemed, and cherished, adored clients who are saying nice things about me. One says that I rapidly help my clients identify the small things they can do to net big results. And another says that in his experience, no one can develop, conceptualize, communicate, and refine brand messaging better than me. It's like, oh my gosh, touches my heart. So when I am your ghostwriter, here are some of the things that I do. I'm known for my accelerated delivery, which, anybody listening to this pretty much knows. It makes your head spin. I don't know what, I open up, I channel, and it's just there. So basically, if I am your ghostwriter, your book, which is then completely drafted for you, can be done within weeks. Like, depending on what else is going on, within 1 week even. So at the same time, speed does not sacrifice quality, and your guidance and approval informs your manuscript at every step. So my goal is to make it easy for you, but it's also thorough. So your book will cohesively represent your work. I also respect how much you want to contribute. So we deliver based on what you want done. If you have a partially finished manuscript and you're saying, here, let me work with that, great. If you want the whole thing done, great. If you say, here's a bunch of webinars I did, figure something out, great. Whatever it is that you're looking for, we can help with that. And of course, your perspective, your voice, your guidance, your input, review, and approval are all essential. So I do have a page on this on my website. You'll see that afterwards. I'll send it to you afterwards. So let's keep going. Let's talk about your options in working with a ghostwriter. You can do concept shaping, meaning that it takes your topic, your perspective, your signature conversation, expertise, or idea, and turns that into a creative brief for your manuscript. And that's helpful when a future author is just not clear about what's going to be book worthy. And so typically the topic is something you're already doing or talking about or known for, but you might need help pulling out and clarifying. Or we can do developmental editing, which again is taking that partial or unfinished manuscript or existing content and reviewing that for content flow and gaps, maybe expanding some parts or reducing others. And that's where strategy meets writing meets your message. So, that editor makes sure that your manuscript delivers on your book's promise, which is all about delivering value to your reader. And then lastly, ghostwriting means someone like me, for example, writes your manuscript for you. So you are the published author, even though you did not personally write a word. Your name is on the cover, and of course that means it needs to represent you and your perspective appropriately. The most valuable ghostwriter is one who has a lot of experience, understands the full publishing process, and delivers as promised. And if you want to chat about that, I have a Calendly link. I'll send it to you later. But if you want to chat about your book, I would be honored. I'd love to hear about it. There are 4 different ways to work, and it's a combination of your words, my ideas, my words, your ideas, your ideas. So we can look at that. There's different ways. There's 4 different ways. I put it together once, and now, of course, because it's so confusing, I need to probably write that down. But anyway, we can talk about that. But for me personally, I'm just known for quality, depth, and speed of delivery. So in that, and I'm committed to that. Okay, so now here we are to a few key questions, and I know we're kind of flying through things, but that's my intention. I want to make the most of your time. I don't want to drag things out for you. So the first question I got was, which is better, a book coach or a ghostwriter? And I would say it depends on how much you want to write. So, if you like writing, you might want to have a book coach. And I do know some amazing book coaches if that's what you're looking for. You'll also probably want to work with an editor as well, but it really comes down to what you really want. Another question I got is, should I hire a service to write my book? And that is a really interesting question because there are a lot of services out there. At the same time, so while they can handle every aspect of your book publishing, you may not ever meet your writer because they will potentially outsource it in their network. And the downside is that they have their system and you will fit into it versus them adapting to you. And in fact, I know of some services where they use like PLR, private label rights books, where the book is pre-written and they simply change a few of the details, slap on a new cover with a title, and they put your name on it. And so you need to be aware of what you're getting when you hire a service. Okay, here's another one. What if I want to work with a publisher? Well, a publisher might have some input on how your book should fit into their portfolio. So you want to take a look at other books they've published. A first-time author doesn't usually get a big media publisher. They often, a publisher also will often have in-house professionals who can write, edit, proof, and polish your book. And while I believe that they do want to work to honor your voice, they might ask you to edit things in a certain way that kind of fits their, perspective or whatever. It can also take longer to work with a publisher than to self-publish. But self-publishing might be enough to get your book and build your platform, meaning your audience, and getting the attention of other potential publishers. So, and people also think, oh, I can get a big advance if I have a publisher. It's getting far, far more rare for that to happen. And they don't actually do much to promote your book unless you already have an existing reputation and platform. They kind of rely on that. So where can you find a ghostwriter? Well, that depends. You can find ghostwriters on all kinds of different sites, including Fiverr and Upwork and People Per Hour, but it can be a bit of a gamble. because you will typically get what you pay for. So it's the difference between, I was trying to think of like examples, like, you know, there's like low, medium, high, right? You might take a bus versus an Uber versus a limo versus a high-end sports car. Like, you know, what's your preference? So yeah, you can find a ghostwriter different places. So it just depends on what you're looking for. You know, and I would say I'm not the cheapest game in town, but I'm also not the most expensive. And, you know, really nobody brags about going to the cheapest doctor in town anyway, right? So So, okay, here's another question. Can I use my ebook or existing opt-in as a book? And I think that that is a great question because yes, it gives you a foundation to get started. And so whatever the seed or the nucleus content of that book is, that can very often be enough to jumpstart a full book, which is pretty exciting in my opinion. So, and one last question that I got is, how long does it usually take to author and publish a book? And so again, that depends. It depends on your method, like what you chose to do. If you hire a ghostwriter, if you're doing it yourself, if you're recording a bunch of webinars, like what does that mean? Now, when I've talked to other writers, they'll say that it takes them up to 6 months to write a book, which in business, we just don't have that kind of time, unless you're at that level where you are that 6 or 7 figure, high sixes, 7-figure celebrity, like, luminary, which that's the goal, right? But if you're not quite there yet, usually you're moving a little bit with more agility. So I would say if you're going to write it on your own and you're committed to it, I would allow yourself a good 3 months, maybe longer. But maybe shorter too. It depends on how you do it, right? So I'm an optimist. So I want to share with you just a final closing thought and then see if there's any other questions that have come in. So here's the big finish, that really a book is a major upshift. It is an offering to both your reader and to your business. And by being willing to risk what you know in service, you change the world one reader at a time. Authoring a book is a way to humanize what you do relative to your reader. So your book is really an marketing tool, right? You're educating and marketing at the same time, and it makes your brand meaningful and practical and essential, and readers are pre-qualified to work with you. So again, by being willing to risk what you know in service through your book, you change the world one reader at a time. So there we have it. That is the substance of our time together today. So, and here's some different ways that you can reach me, like, you could online, email, call, social media, or smoke signals, or go right on my calendar, whatever works for you. So anyway, so do we have any other thoughts or questions that have come in?
So here's a question, Lynn.
Okay.
If it takes most people 3 months to write a book on their own, how long does it take to work with you as a ghostwriter? And is it feasible to do that and the typesetting and the publishing and everything in time for the holiday season?
Oh yeah, that's the whole point we're here. I forgot to address that. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. So yeah, in fact, we do have to get started on it pronto. That's for sure. If we're taking content that you have, if there's some existing content, some nucleus content, then it would take it would take me between a week to 2 weeks, depending on what your turnaround is and for edits and approval. Then at that point, we need to upload, get it into, probably Amazon or whatever publishing platform you want. Wait, back it up. We need to typeset it. Typesetting takes, I don't know, I would allow up to a week for that. Usually it can be less, but the typesetting and cover design. So let's say 2 weeks for us to work together to write your book, a week for typesetting and cover design. That's at 3 weeks. Now we get your author page and everything set up in Amazon. We upload it and you proof it. You could order your author's copy probably between 3 and 3.5 weeks. It takes a few days for those to come. So at just over 4 weeks from the day that we get started, you would have a physical book in your hand. Once you review that and you click publish, your book goes live. Amazon or whoever will review it. Usually that they say allow up to 36 hours or maybe 72 hours. But anyway, usually it's within 24 hours. And then it just goes live. So you could have potentially your book from start to finish available in maybe a little over 4 weeks, which could shrink down depending on how quickly you move with your edits and reviews. So yeah, so it takes, I would say, a month when you're working with somebody like me who, moves pretty fast. But again, if time is not of the essence, if you want a little more time to think about things, it could take a little bit longer. So it's really up to you. But if you do that, and let's say we're at November 1st roughly, then if we did that, you would be, by about Thanksgiving, your book would be ready to rumble. And you would have, it takes about, if you wanted to order like a bunch of books, like, I don't know, 30 or 40 books, that would take about 10 days. So by the second week of December, you would have a bulk order of books, which when you order them that way, you're paying for them at cost, which is what's so nice. Or you can order the Kindle version and send those as gifts, which is also really effective. And a lot of people prefer the digital version anyway. So yeah, that was a great question. Thank you. Anything else?
How do you pick what goes on your cover?
That is such a good question. Well, your cover, it has to be clear and readable and shrink down to a small size and still be compelling. I would definitely look at bestsellers in your category just to see what they're doing. Pick something. You also want to pay attention to your brand. If your main brand, this is something I didn't do so great with my first book, but you want to look at what's your color scheme, what your themes are, so for example, in this case, Savvy X is about turquoise. So I wouldn't probably choose like orange as a color, you know what I mean? I tend to go towards natural pictures. And so I would not do with like animated cartoons, I wouldn't do, something like that. Also, it's kind of interesting because, I'm much more a word person. So for somebody like me, we have to be a little bit careful. Do we want only words on our cover, or can we find an image that represents the concept that we want? So someone like, who's an artist might find something that's visual and go, oh yeah, I'll get to the words. So, it's kind of a balance, and you want to make sure that it's something that's going to be appealing and attractive to your audience, your ideal audience, your reader. So yeah, that's a good question too. So it's a little bit of a dance. My last book, it was very interesting. I used an artist on Fiverr, and when I put the work order in, I said, well, here's one cover with just words, and here's one cover with like a sample kind of image. And they were like, what? They didn't understand. And I said, okay, bottom line, I'm inviting your creativity here, which I know doesn't usually happen on Fiverr, but I'm just saying. And so I said, okay, fine, just go with the first one. Just make it easy, just do words. And they came back with like the best cover ever. It was amazing. And so, yeah, but they were like, what? Somebody wants our creativity? What? So it just depends on, who you find and how you want to work it. But you can find graphic designers who will also help you influence your look and feel. Also, one other thought on that, now that I'm thinking about it, when you typeset your book, you will also find a visual language for the interior of your book. So for example, if your books are always done in like, I don't know, Times New Roman, then you might want to stick with Times New Roman. I'm not even sure what mine are in. The lady who does my typesetting is just in charge of that. I don't mess with Success because she's on it. So, but that's an important piece of it too, how you typeset the interior. That's part of your look and feel.
How do you mentioned my words and my ideas with your words and your ideas. How do those get combined so that the book stays focused on my business concepts and how it fits into my marketing plan or the bigger picture of what I'm trying to create? I think you called it the business ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
how does it stay in my ecosystem and not end up in your words and ideas?
Well, everything. So a good ghostwriter is always going to try to find your voice or represent what you say, which is a lot easier when you have existing content or when you speak the content. At the same time, that's why it's so important to find the right writer, because it can change depending on the writer's perspective. So that's one piece. Another is that throughout the review process, you want to make sure that you're always giving candid feedback and that you make the edits that are appropriate to your voice. So, for example, I have a client who, he's awesome. I just love him to death. He's like the salt of the earth, and he rides a motorcycle, and he just puts it right out there. He's just an honest, direct, straight shooter. And there was some words in there that were just so polished that they just didn't even sound like him. And I was like, whoa, where'd that come from? And it turned out that that came from one of his colleagues who had wanted to try to convey the idea, but it didn't sound like him. It just didn't sound like him. And so we needed to, make sure because we were like, would he ever say that? No. So so it's really important that, you as the author are on top of, oh, wait, I would never say that, or that doesn't sound real, or I don't like that, or it doesn't make sense. And you as the author are also responsible for figuring out how it does fit into your business, your larger business ecosystem. Again, as a ghostwriter, because that's what I do, is business building and brand development. Like, I can help you think through how it fits into your ecosystem. Most writers don't do that. They literally just write. But because I'm interested in, the larger picture, that is another differentiator that I bring to it. So again, it depends on what's your strategy for why you want the book, how you want to pull it together, and then who you're going to hire to help you get it there.